Michael. Thank you so much for being here today. We're so grateful that we get to interview you. I would love if you could introduce yourself.
Yes, thanks, Courtney, and thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. My name is Michael C. Bland. I am the author of the Price of Trilogy, a set of three novels that are set 25 years in the future. They're science fiction thrillers, so they're fast paced novels. These are my first novels that have been published. Prior to that, I wrote a novel that I was able to pitch to Columbia Pictures, and while they were interested, well, then COVID hit, and so I haven't heard anything since.
Love that. I would love if you could tell us more about what your books are about.
Absolutely. So, The Price of Safety, the first book in the trilogy, is set 25 years in the future, where technology has become so interwoven in everyone's lives that no crime goes unsolved anymore. When the main character, Draco Terra, his 19-year-old daughter, commits a crime, he covers it up to save her life. That starts down this rabbit hole where he gets pulled into this fight and he discovers that his own technology is being used to manipulate and lie to everyone. Then the second book, Price of Rebellion, which starts about 2 months after the end of the Price of Safety, is where he's being pulled deeper into this now fight. And his struggle is between protecting his family as well as trying to help fix what had happened with bad guys using his technology against everyone. And for him in the second book, it becomes more personal because he's also mourning the loss of someone. And so as he struggles to help take down the people that have used his technology against everyone, and he thinks he finds a way to actually defeat them. He gets a call and a claim is made. And it's almost unbelievable. Yet he has to make a terrible choice to either try to help defeat the bad guys in the end or to chase a desperate hope.
Love that. What inspired you to write your books?
So for this book's the trilogy, and first of all, I didn't plan this is originally to write this as a trilogy. It was just a single novel. But I was living in Chicago at the time, and I was on the L one day, coming home from work, and everyone had their faces buried in their phone. And don't get me wrong, I've been guilty of that as well. But I realized that I could just strip down naked, and no one would have any idea. They would be completely oblivious to me. However, on the ceiling of that car and the ceiling of every car are cameras, three of them. So while no one is watching, someone could always be watching. And then from there, I thought, well, how could I stop them? Not that I wanted to strip down naked, but how could I stop them from watching me, from tracking me? And then what if there was a problem? What if I had someone that I loved, that I cared about, was in danger? And the people that I was trying to protect them against had access to those cameras. That's what started the whole idea and the premise with the novel, and which ended up becoming a trilogy. And one of the biggest focuses with the story, the biggest struggle is Dre. He's trying to protect his family. He's got two daughters, and he is trying to protect them during this entire time. And so, how do you protect people that you care about in this kind of world where the surveillance and the technology is so pervasive and it is everywhere and you can't avoid it? How do you protect those people?
Love that. When writing your book, who are you thinking of when it comes to who your book is for?
It's a good question. Um, it's I guess my reader is really anyone that has people they care about. So my my typical reader I've had, and I've sold them at Comic Cons and that kind of thing, and both men and women, and from a wider range from 20 years old to 65 years old, have been interested in and bought my book and have come back the next year to say how much they enjoyed it, and then usually buying them the next book. So it's a wide range, but I try to write it really for people who had people that they cared about, that they wanted to, not worry about, but to have it in a kind of scenario where you are trying to understand and try to put yourself in that kind of position of the main character. You have someone that you care about, whether it's a sibling, whether it's a child, whether it's a parent, a loved one. How do you protect in that world? And don't get me wrong, technology is great, it's fantastic, but it's a weapon. It's a tool. I'm sorry, it's a tool which could be used as a weapon, just like a hammer can build a house, can also hurt someone. So with the technology, and that's the same thing, and that's what I wanted to try to show. And I try to make the stories, my world, as realistic as possible. In fact, some of the technology that I envisioned as I was writing the books have already come true. For example, there is in my story a device called a DNA scanner, because everyone sheds dead skin cells and dead hair follicles. Just we all do that. Well, this machine sucks that out of the air, runs the DNA, and identifies you. A month after the Price Rebellion came out, a company in California announced they created that exact technology. Now they claim it's for when that they envision they would put their machines on hiking trails, and so if a hiker goes missing, then well, they'd identify them easier for authorities to locate them. Yeah, that's a start of how the technology could be used, but especially in another 20, 25 years, it could be used in a lot of other ways, in ways that we can't avoid.
Love that. How long have you been writing and what made you really sit down and start?
I've been writing for about 10 years and actually started younger. I went to college for finance, and so I always kind of envisioned myself doing the business route. Both my parents did, so it's one of those. That's why you kind of envision yourself. Even though I'd always told stories, when I was 10 years old, I created comic books of characters that I had created. However, my first job out of college was in the collections department of a auto leasing company, included repossessions. So I was repoing cars. I'm not a very imposing guy, a young guy, white tie or white shirt and tie in a brand new car because they give you a demo, and showing up in, of course, not nice areas of town, really sketchy parts of towns. And when I got my knife pulled on me one time, that's when I really started to kind of reevaluate my life choices. So that's where I started to really think, what is it that I really do want to do with my life? And I gravitated towards writing. My first attempt, I don't even call it my first novel, even though I did complete a rough draft, was an absolute train wreck. No one should ever be tortured to read that thing. It was horrible, but I was hooked. And while I tinkered with writing on and off over the years, I really got serious about 10 years ago. I went to the University of Iowa's summer writing program. That's where I met other writers. That's where I took classes, started to really understand the craft because, like anything, it is a craft. And that means you need to understand the rules and how it works. And you can't break rules if you don't understand them, um, and how to make novels that actually work.
Amazing. What is your schedule like when you are writing a book?
Oh, since I still have a full-time job, it's primarily when I have time. A lot of times weekends, evenings. Luckily, I don't have children, so I have more free time than if I did have children. So it's really where I can find the time. Now, having said that, when I'm starting to work on in the series, I get to a point in my brain where I have to start writing. If it's where need to take a week off from work because I have to, because it's hard for me to to continue concentrating on other things because the story needs to come out. And if it doesn't, then I become less productive, grumpier. But once I start putting it down on paper, then that eases. And then it's okay, I'm doing what I feel I maybe not wasn't meant to do, but it's definitely what my passion is and what my drive is.
Amazing. What do you need in your writing space to help you stay focused?
As few distractions as possible, to be honest. My office, it has a window. I rarely raise the curtain on it because distractions. I will run Spotify, do like Deep Focus or some of the other playlists that are great, that have no vocals but great music. So it's almost white noise, but it's not completely white noise. It is various music. And another one is Calm Before the Storm, because some of the songs are start to get more intense, and so that kind of helps with some of the action scenes that I have. So and really just as few distractions as possible, because It's very difficult. Even when I have everything all written down and I'm a planner, I have to plan out the stories. And for any of your listeners who read my novels, you'll see that they are interwoven stories, a lot that happens, a lot that goes on. And I tried, was very passionate about really focused on making sure that all the logic made sense, where you couldn't just go, oh, if you just pick up the phone and call Johnny, that it fixes everything. No, that doesn't work. You can't pick up the phone, they're tracking the phones, kind of thing. So you had to really, um, in fact, there were some of the scenes that I had some of the original ideas I had to throw out because they didn't fit the logic. It went against the logic within the world. And as a reader, I hate when I run across a novel, and I hate, but it really annoys me when the writer's own logic is ignored in their own story. So um, that's why I need that kind of lack of distraction because I'm trying to make sure I'm keeping everything in mind. And then the other thing is I have the notes app on my iPhone. I have so many notes and quotes and random things. If anyone scrolls through it, they wouldn't understand probably 90 of it because it's all just absolutely random things. But I have to write it down because if I go, oh, I'll remember it later. Oh, well. Even if it was the best idea in the world, absolutely will not remember it later.
Love that. What is your favorite writing snack and drink?
Oh, that's a great question. Peanut M&Ms. Those are they're like crack. Love those. And I have a sweet tooth. And the drink of choice is, and it's gonna sound horrible, but Diet Mountain Dew. That's I can drink. I used to drink like 5 or 6 cans a day. I'm like, no, I can't do that anymore. I'm not like 12. I need to be better than that. So I'll do like one, and that's like the treat, and then after that it's water. But yeah, definitely that and peanut M&Ms.
Love that. What type of books do you personally enjoy reading?
I like science fiction. I like the Pierce Brown. His series has been great. That's the most recent that I've been reading, and his voice is fantastic. If anyone hasn't read it, that's a great series of very distinct voice. Michael Crichton, been another influence. His ability to take scientific advancements and throwing it into an interesting story, and of course, Jurassic Park is the you know easy example that comes to mind, but Prey is another one. Um, so I love different sci-fi. I also like trying to find new authors. Um, and I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head that I just finished reading. But it's really fun to read other science fiction and to get that to get that inspiration from others.
Love that. Are there any books or authors that inspired you to become a writer?
Michael Crichton is definitely one of them. He was a big one. When I was starting to actually craft and get to the point where I'm starting to develop my own actual writing style and voice and everything, Pierce Brown definitely had an influence with it. To be able to take just a simple scene and just infuse it with this very specific voice, it just made it very distinct. You could pick up, open almost any page, and just at least for me, just that voice leaps off the page. I have been a Tom Clancy fan. George Orwell with 1984. That's definitely because there's elements of 1984 in my Price of Trilogy. Um, and then also, when I grew up with my dad was going to be an astrophysicist, so I had books by Asimov and Heinlein and Arthur C. Clarke throughout the house. So growing up, that's what I learned really to read and fell in love with science fiction to begin with.
Love that. What books did you grow up reading? Did you have an all-time favorite?
Ooh, I think "Stranger in a Strange Land" by Robert Heinlein. That was definitely one of them. Granted, I read it at a younger age, and so I probably didn't understand or appreciate some of the nuances at the time. But Arthur C. Clarke, "Contact" was another huge one. Then also C.S. Lewis. His series, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. That was another one. And Stephen King was a huge Stephen King fan. The Stand to this day is still one of my favorite books. Absolutely just amazing storyteller.
Love it. On the other side of that, now as an adult, what are your favorite series or authors that if they come out with something, you automatically grab it?
Ooh. Pierce Brown is definitely one of them. I've loved all of his stuff. Um, I am a fan of Game of Thrones, the books, not the last season. Let's not talk about that. That would just be very sad. They did so well until then. The Foundation series on Apple. Another one is Blake Crouch. I fell in love first with Dark Matter, with a novel. I understand it's now they did a limited series on Apple TV, but I've been reading his stuff as well.
Love it. What would you tell someone just starting out with reading again?
Reading again. Ooh. Find stuff that captures you, that captures your imagination. With books, it's interesting. This day and age, because we are inundated with so many different distractions, between our smartphones, internet, streaming, everything. There's so much demand for your attention. So obviously you want to pick something that you enjoy. Now with novels, sometimes some of them are of a slower start. My attitude is because I know there's so many distractions, I try to grab your attention and never let go. Um, but find something that interests you, and whether it's a genre, whether it's a specific author, if you read something about them that interests you, give them a shot. Um, or if it's a premise, some great premises out there for novels, and see just what captures you, and don't feel bad. It's going to sound bad as a writer. Don't feel bad if the book doesn't catch you after two, three, four chapters and you put it down. It's free. It's free country. You can do that. You don't have to force yourself. Okay, I paid $3.99 for this Kindle, and so I feel I need to read it to the end. If you don't like it, move on. And the other thing, take try newer authors. The Stephen Kings and the Michael Crichton of the world, they all started out, and without support and interest, then it's hard for them to get the additional publishing contracts to continue to publish works and grow as a writer, and to make better and better stories.
Love that. What would you tell someone on the other side of that, someone who's just starting to write their own book?
It's gonna be it's a long journey. Don't expect a quick gratification. If so, choose something else. It is a long journey, and there was a quote that I remember once where they said that the first the amount of time that you work on a complete novel, the first third of that time, you will love your story. The second third of the time, you're committed to get it done. The last third of the time, you are tired of reading your own stuff. But you have to continue to go through it and go through it and make it better and better. Even before this call, I was going through the third book is done in the trilogy. I'm just going through these last edits. And frankly, I don't know if some of my work at this stage would impact the readers' um, enjoyment of the book. I'm just trying to tell the exact same story in the best possible way, down to word choice in this sentence versus that sentence. And if I do my job right, you as the reader never notice, because you're just enthralled with the story itself, and you're not distracted by how it was said, the words that were used, anything like that. So as a for a writer, and the other two other pieces of advice that I would give. One, find a beta reader or someone, whether it's a writing group or another writer, who will edit your work, be blunt about it, be honest about it, and that you listen to their feedback. They're not always going to be right, but you will become a better writer over time if you listen to them and you talk to them about the choices you made in the story and what you're trying to achieve with your writing. The other thing, be kind to yourself. It's no one wakes up in one day and suddenly they are a award-winning author, a best-selling author. It takes time, it takes work. If it's what you want to pursue, you can do it. Just be kind to yourself, because there will be a lot of times you'll be frustrated and you'll second guess why you're doing this. And trust me, you still question why you do it at times. But if it's what you love, what you are passionate about, then That's a very easy answer. You continue to do it.
Love that. What's one thing that people are generally surprised to find out about you?
That I took Russian for 3 years in college, and I lived there for a summer. This was back many years ago. This was back before definitely before what's going on now. But I came back fluent after living there for a summer. Saw Lenin in his tomb. Went snuck onto a Russian battleship with some Russian friends I'd made, and had some amazing experiences.
Love that. Is there anything you would like to say or add?
Um, No, except I really hope your listeners check out my novels. I'm very proud of them. They've won awards. The first one has won 3 awards for both science fiction and thriller. The Price of Rebellion has won 7 awards, including Best Science Fiction Novel of the Year by Indies Today. Very proud of those. And frankly, that's also when I started feeling that okay, I was actually a legit writer and starting to win a number of different awards. So that's been very gratifying. And the third book is done, as I said. It's expected to come out probably later this year. Well, I'm planning to get it to my publisher in the next few weeks, and then I'll talk to them about timing for when they're going to have their editor go through it and they want to release it. So, but it should be coming out. I would say probably either later this year or very first part of next year.
Amazing. Where's the best place for readers to find your books? I know some readers love signed copies. Is that an option and the best place to connect with you?
Um, the best place to connect with me on my website, it's very easy. It's www.mcbland.com. That is, there's a contact me page in there. Please, reach out to me that way. If you're interested in an autographed copy, I can always arrange to get one to you. We can arrange all that. That's great. Or you can also ask to be on my newsletter. That's also you can sign up that way, and that'll give you some news. And trust me, I don't do it very often, but when I do, it's for specific news. If I'm going to be at a Comic Con or news about the book release. Also, Audible. The first book is already out on Audible. The second one should be out in the next. Should be out in. Should already be out. And the third one is going to be done by the time that the third book is released. So it's the same vocal actor for all three. But also the links to Audible and Amazon and Barnes and Noble and all that. So that's the best way to reach me.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here today. We're so grateful that we got to interview you. We'll be sure to drop those links in the show notes. That way everyone can find you. And again, thank you so, so much.
Courtney, thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed it.